All right, guys, we are live here with former NFL player and freshman congressman from Utah's 4th Congressional District, Burgess Owens. Burgess.
It's a real pleasure and really looking forward to this conversation. Absolutely.
Yes, we are so grateful to have you here. Now, I first saw you give a testimony to Congress. I think it was maybe last year or the year before. It was just so passionate. You talked about almost like the near genocidal slaughter of the unborn,
yes,
especially in the black community and the Democrat Party. So tell me, what got you involved in politics as a former NFL player?
It's interesting because it was actually against reparation. That's what that conversation was. And I didn't realize at the time, but it was in front of the Judiciary Committee. And here we are 2 years later, I'm now a congressman sitting on the Judiciary Committee and again talking against reparation. What my message is very, very simply, the more we know our history, the more we understand how blessed we are to be Americans, to have seen our society grow the way it has, the more we understand that there's no need for reparation. We just need to be proud of who we are and get the credit for the things we've done together as a people. So I always talk about my history as a black American here, and it's so important to recognize that the generation before me succeeded because they believed in meritocracy. They succeeded because they commanded respect, not begged for it, not asked for it. They commanded respect by winning, by working harder, studying harder, enlisting in the Army and re-enlisting because they wanted to earn the respect of fellow Americans. And the result of that, very simply, was a race in the 1960s that I was growing up that led our country to growth of the middle class, men matriculated from college, men committed to marriage, percentage of entrepreneurs over 40%, which led to 50 to 60% of black Americans in the 60s being part of the middle class. Now, why do I bring that up? I bring it up because it gives context to where we are today, and the fact that we flipped that upside down by getting away from the tenets of faith, of family, of free market and education. We've gotten away from that. And now the result of that is we have 20 million black babies who are no longer with us. Over the last 3 decades, they have been eliminated through abortion. We have, in the state of California, 75% of the black boys in the state of California cannot pass standard reading and writing tests. This is 2017, because they're not being taught how to think, how to educate themselves. We have 83% 8 years ago of black teen males unemployed across the country because we're not giving them an opportunity to go out and work. There are policies that have been put in place by the left, by the Democratic Party, that uses misery as a political strategy. And that's what we have to understand. How do we change the divisiveness today, this idea of turning black people into racists or white people into racists? Well, we first of all give opportunities to build the American dream, allow people to strive forward in a fair way. And we do that, we'll come out of this and become a much, much better country in the process.
Absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned so many great points that the Democrats really like to cash in on the plight of black Americans. How do we change the messaging? Because it seems like it's so overwhelming that the left controls so many aspects of our culture, like the mainstream media, academia, and platforms like the NFL, which you used to be a member of.
That's
Obviously,
right.
It was nothing the way it was before.
That's right.
How do we change and kind of approach that to where the messaging gets back to traditional values?
What a good question. And I'll say this, we change it because we have to have faith in two things. Our country began on Judeo-Christian values. That means there's a God who put in place a nation that was built on freedom. And he's given us miracles throughout our history here. We also have a people that are in this country that drift toward freedom. We drift toward the light. We're the most giving, serving, empathetic people in the history of mankind. No one does it like we do. I have faith in those two. I have faith in our God in heaven. I have faith in we the people. And what we're going through right now, even with those obstacles you just mentioned, even with the propaganda that we just mentioned, even though we have black people who have done more damage to black people than white supremacists because of policies they placed on us that takes away the hope, that takes away our families. Even with all that, we have something that we're going on right now. We've lost the House, lost the Senate, do not have the executive branch, and it's going to give Americans a chance to see contrast. The great thing about contrast is we can begin to see how it feels to feel good about life, about our future, and contrast that with the lack of the same. And what we had the last 4 years, as much as President Trump was put through the ringer, we had the lowest unemployment in the history of our country for blacks, Hispanics, Asian, women, teens. We had a 400% increase in black business ownership, which powers the middle class. We had the wage earners of the bottom tier coming up faster than the other wage earners. So that's a very positive process. What are we getting now with the Democrats? We're getting hard left. We're getting the first day in office, 11,000 jobs being cut, good middle class jobs of union workers. We're seeing now they're going to get away. They're going to totally leave the idea of black kids getting a chance to get out of bad schools and go into better schools. We have the borders that are being run through by people who are not Americans, going to take American jobs, possibly bring the virus in, and we have a administration that will not protect us. We're going to see more of these type of differences over the next 2 years, which allow we the people to finally put back into office a Republican Party who loves God, family, country, respect for women, and respect of authority. That's how we win. We let American people see, get engaged, vote, and get the right people back in office.
Awesome. I couldn't have said it better myself. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us today. Lastly, how does it feel to be a member of Congress?
Another good question. It's interesting. I played in Super Bowl 15, and I remember sitting in the locker room with the Raiders after losing for 12 seasons prior to that. I remember the moment sitting around and looking around the room saying, I cannot believe I'm sitting here with these guys I respect, getting ready to go out and play the biggest game of my life. I feel the same way today. I'm sitting with members of Congress, particularly this freshman class. That's just an awesome class to be part of. And we can be the stopgap for the next 2 years to bring our country back. So I'm just honored by Utahns. I'm honored by those across the country that pull this freshman class together. And we're going to hold the fort the best we can. In 2022, we'll get the House back, the Senate back. In 2022, we'll get the House, Senate back. 2024, we'll get the presidents back. And just watch out. Our country's on the road again.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for interviewing with us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.